Kuzangpo, a warm welcome to Bhutan This Week. My name is Samtin Dolkar. Our top stories this week. Bhutan records third COVID-19 deaths from Phinsoling. As Bhutan receives its first tourists amid the pandemic, hopes of those working in the tourism and travel industry rekindled. And Sabin Limbu, a class 11 student from Tenju Central School in Samtsi, wins the 13th Golden Youth Award. Now the news in detail. In just about a month, the country records yet another death from COVID-19. A 67-year-old man from Darjeeling in India died at the Rick's isolation ward in Phinsoling on Tuesday. The health ministry says he had a pre-existing condition.
This is the third COVID death in Bhutan. The deceased was admitted to the isolation ward on 24th July. He had underlying medical conditions including hypertension and diabetes. He was also treated for lung tuberculosis in the past. The deceased worked in one of the private companies in Phinsoling some 15 years ago. He had received just the first dose of the COVID vaccine in March. He is survived by his wife, who was also a COVID patient but recovered. Bhutan's first COVID-19 death was reported in January this year. A 34-year-old man with pre-existing medical conditions died at the National Referral Hospital. The country recorded the second COVID death last month after an 82-year-old woman from Gomtu died in Phinsoling. She also had multiple medical conditions and she was not vaccinated. For Sona Benjur in Phinsoling, Thringdandup, BBS News.
Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the health ministry is hopeful of implementing the maternity allowance within this year. It will be rolled out under the policy Accelerating Mother and Child Health Outcome 1000 Days. The cabinet endorsed the policy late last year.
The health ministry will give the maternity allowance to pregnant women in rural areas and those in the private and corporate sectors who do not get 6 months of paid maternity leave. Each of them would receive an allowance of 39,000 Newton from the day the child is conceived until the child is 2 years old. It would be dispersed in portions during the period. However, certain conditions are to be fulfilled, such as completing the recommended 8 antenatal care and 4 postnatal care visits, institutional delivery, and exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, among others. Initially planned for eligible women in rural areas, the allowance was supposed to be launched in August 2019, but due to budget constraints, it could not take off immediately.
We have to face the pandemic. There were a lot of economic challenges. The revenue has gone down. As people understand, tourism from one of our major finance foreign exchange earner is the tourism sector, and that is fair to say as good as zero with the COVID. And this has affected globally, not just Bhutan, globally. So these are some of the financial challenges where we were not able to roll it out, but we have the policy and every implementation plan, everything ready to be rolled out, Seshuni. So that's why we are hoping that this year we will be able to roll it out.
Meanwhile, in some rural parts of the country, newborn mothers like 20-year-old Lungten Dema in Samrup Dzongkha are looking forward to receiving the maternity allowance soon. She has a 9-month-old baby.
Zaktuki ganglati kelang na de nebe sungdela thi thop doji biojing ngachi alu ID suluti achi phenthoni me sishniwinla.
The Accelerating Mother and Child Health Outcome 1000 Days policy is expected to ensure the availability and accessibility of quality mother and child health services, besides empowering women by enabling them to operate their own personal savings bank account. As per the Population and Housing Census 2017, there is a significant improvement in childhood mortality indicators between 2005 and 2017. This is attributed to the strengthening of institutional delivery and antenatal care visits, among others. And so many feel that interventions such as the maternity allowance is only expected to contribute further in reducing maternal and neonatal mortalities. Chonidama for BBS News.
The Education Ministry will relocate about 900 students of classes 9 to 12 from Phinsoling Thomde to a school in Punakha by 15th August. The students, along with 75 teachers and supporting staff, will be moved to a newly constructed private school at Paduna. Paduna is about 8 kilometers away from Punakha towards Gasa.
Unlike the last relocation, students and teachers this time will be relocated in one institute instead of different schools. The three schools, which are Phinsoling Higher and Middle Secondary Schools and Sonamgang Middle Secondary School, will function as one independent boarding school in Paduna.
Last year, I think kids and teachers, they found it very challenging, largely also because they were housed in schools, which are day schools, where there are no accommodation facilities. This year in Paduna, we have hostels for both the girls and boys. So in that sense, I think it's going to be very convenient. There will be dining facilities, other facilities.
Currently, workers are giving the finishing touches on the hostel rooms. The ministry plans to keep everything ready by 10th August. Both students and teachers will be quarantined in the school for 2 weeks, followed by a COVID test. The ministry has also arranged more than 80 buses to transport the students and teachers. Since the lockdown on 17th April, students have been continuing their lessons online.
Other Dzongkhas are way more ahead than us, and here we are stuck in online classes, which we cannot learn anything. So I think relocation is the only solution.
The Education Ministry will explore ways so that the relocated students get adequate time to prepare for the board exams.
Maybe towards the end, we'll have to sit and discuss and try and see what kind of level playing field we need to give them. Maybe that would be in terms of like delaying the exam a little bit. But we haven't decided, but this is being thought about right now.
Meanwhile, two private high schools in Phinsoling, Yenten Kinjung and Norbu Academy will continue operating in containment mode. Similarly, students of classes 9 and 10 of Chumethang Middle Secondary School started operating in containment mode from this week. However, classes PP to 8 will continue their lessons online. The relocation is expected to cost the government over 33 million Newton. With additional information from Sonampenjor, Sonampem for BBS News.
The Drugel Post Relief Kidu has helped many people cope with the unprecedented challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. One of the relief measures is the support for loan interest payment. It has benefited people from all walks of life. While all remain grateful for the intervention, some recipients of the SELRA are confused about how the interest waiver benefits them.
Upon royal command, the loan interest waiver was instituted from April last year, after the pandemic disrupted the lives of the people. Loan account holders were granted full interest waiver for 6 months, benefiting more than 100,000 people. And since October last year, the relief Kidu of 50% interest support was granted. The support will continue until June next year. However, some loan account holders are confused about how the deferment and interest waiver are applied in the current situation.
Please understand that loan has two components. You have a principal component, you have an interest component, which is usually paid at the end of every month. That's what we call EMI, which is equated monthly installment. This contains the principal portion for that period and the interest accrued for that number of days.
The Kido covers only the interest portion but not the principal. It means 50% of the interest is paid by His Majesty on the borrower's behalf, but the remaining accrued interest has to be paid by the borrower. The banks have currently provided borrowers with the choice to defer the payments and also extend the repayment period.
There is also confusion about deferment. People feel that you don't have to pay anything. Because of this era, you don't have to pay. It's deferred. It doesn't mean you don't have to pay. What you're going to pay today is now being deferred to the future.
He added there is also a misconception that borrowers might have to pay more because of the accrued interest and extension of repayment time. Since the accumulated interest for those who defer their payment is maintained in a separate account, it won't be charged any interest. Hence, borrowers won't be paying more than what they are supposed to. The time extension, he says, is optional, depending on the capacity of the borrowers to pay back.
We are going to sit with the borrower and find out how much you can actually pay. If you can pay more, we would request you to pay more. If you don't have the capacity to pay more, even if 5 years may not be even enough. So we have to structure. The whole idea is to make credit easy for the borrowers and the creditors. The whole idea is to ensure that our borrowers do not face situations that they can handle.
For people who have continued to pay their normal installments besides the interest support, the financial institutions will provide a 1% rebate, meaning the banks will deduct 1% of the interest paid till the end of the kidu from the principal amount. However, the outstanding loan repayments before March 2020 and loans that were sanctioned after April 2020 are not eligible for the interest support. Ishidoji, PBS News.
After a gap of almost a year and a half, Bhutan received its first tourist on Monday. And this has come as a huge relief for those working in the tourism and travel industry. Now they are hopeful of getting back into the business. The country suspended the entry of tourists after detecting its first coronavirus case in an American tourist in March last year.
Frances Bach from America is the first tourist to visit Bhutan amid the pandemic. But unlike her first travel to Bhutan, this time the 70-year-old will have to undergo the mandatory 21-day quarantine at her own expense. She will also have to take the RT-PCR test upon completing quarantine before taking a tour of the country. She is visiting Bhutan for 3 months, and according to her travel agency, she has been waiting to return to Bhutan since her last visit in 2019. After the Tourism Council issued a news release last week, the tour operators in the country have started reaching out to their clients in different parts of the world. The council announced inbound tourists willing to undergo the mandatory 21-day quarantine will be allowed entry. The Health Ministry announced a similar arrangement in September last year, followed by the National COVID-19 Task Force in December.
jendo shutalu namisami semgai shunira tita semgo chamchimi ngachara tashil peru da tour operators beru jo mi relation du ki tenga chara chala september tips semga shati ki be begobe khache shunila.
Others working in the tourism sector also echoed Tenzin's optimism.
Close baby dev the ludi chala mep jo me bate la ludi ngachigi ani organic ngachigi Bhutan nara zozo tea disu oil disu ani bidu te ani disu pro expire jo be mo tatugi ani chili oni di be tele rere nini be orura te khon achi ngachigi Bhutan ge rules the regulation follow be de market na lifa achi re chala chunkuchi no be khongi barura ngachilute namisame ani support chi juni mela dato sense ngachi lamtempa da mu la delen ngachiragi the hotel tour operators the lami ani be benirigi la te gashlo ngai be ochindi penthoni message shunibi delen dimba che tele ngachira dato sense la tunga da gebo gi relief ki do di lete indigi ngachi ani sustain be di ani bodalu the game ombachin the duga da gebo gi relief ki do de shumengo be se shunibi.
Meanwhile, as per the Tourism Council's notification, the minimum daily package tariff of $250 is levied only after quarantine. Also, only those tourists coming via air will be allowed entry. They will have to produce a COVID-19 negative certificate issued not earlier than 72 hours before the journey. They are also expected to follow COVID-19 protocol and TCB guidelines strictly. The council is encouraging tourists to have both the doses of COVID-19 vaccine. For Namgyewanshu in Paro, Sunampem for BBS News.
In the latest update of the conspiracy case, Khandwangma appealed to the High Court. Last month, the Thimphu District Court sentenced her to 9 years in prison. She was convicted of abating mutiny, criminal misappropriation of property, larceny by deception, illegal possession of a firearm, and impersonation of uniformed personnel. She was also sentenced to 1.5 years in prison for solicitation of official misconduct and harassment. But she can pay in lieu of the prison term. Including her, the Thimphu District Court convicted 4 individuals of commissioning of criminal conspiracy, mutiny, abetting mutiny, and other criminal offences. They planned to overthrow the Army's Chief Operations Officer, Lieutenant General Batutsring. Only the former RBG Commandant Brigadier Tilitopke did not appeal. Some villagers of Marsala, Samrang, Pemathang and Pinsutang in Samdrup Dzongkha who have invested in a private venture are now asking for their money back. The Pemi de Junkin Pen Private Limited, a company in which the villagers invested, failed to land the State Mining Corporation's contract to work at the 2 coal mining sites in Samdrup Choling, Dzongkha.
Some 4,000 people from the Dzongkha invested over 30 million ngitam in the company. However, the company failed to meet 3 deadlines to procure the required number of trucks and machinery prescribed by the SMCL. With nothing to show, the company now plans to run quarries in the Dzongkha.
We had 2 plans. Plan A was to run coal mining, but we didn't get it. Now for Plan B, where we are planning to run quarries. We have submitted proposals to run quarries. If we get it, then we will run quarries for now.
However, some villagers are not in favor of the plan. Pema Chofel had invested 100,000 ngitam in the company, the money he saved by doing painting works.
I
have invested my money for coal mining only, and I'm not interested in other quarries and all. They are saying they will export boulders to Bangladesh, but I told them I'm not interested.
They are not telling us anything about our money. It is our money, and we need to know. We are worried.
I don't
know if it is the government or our failure. We were informed we are getting the coal mining works, and we are very sad. Now I don't know from where we will get our investments back. We would be grateful if the government would allow us to work in the coal mines.
While running around offices in Thimphu to get the coal mining contract, the company has spent 400,000 ngitam.
Some villagers complain that they have invested for coal and not in quarries, so they asked for their money back. So our committee members in a meeting decided to pay them back after 1 to 2 years with additional interest as per bank rates.
The company is still working to get coal mining works once the present contract ends. For Kilongwachu in Samdrup Dzongkha, Kinzang Hadin, PBS News.
Now, many discuss the lack of Dzongkha vocabulary more often than not. Against this, the Dzongkha Development Commission has been working to make the glossary rich. But how much do people use the newly coined or adopted words? According to the Commission, not so much.
A flip through the DDC's dictionary, one will come across hundreds of Dzongkha terms. What's interesting is there are also words from many indigenous dialects in the country. Mathang and Khotkin are some of the Tsangla words that the Dzongkha Development Commission has approved to be used as Dzongkha. Other words include Jojo, Acho, Jum and Tibu, adopted from the Western dialects. Their meanings remain the same as well. The DDC's Chief Language Development Officer says they must add local dialects to Dzongkha since the national language has a limited vocabulary. The National Policy and Strategy of Dzongkha Development Promotion Policy states, Terminology which does not exist in Dzongkha would firstly be adopted from classical Cheke and secondly from other indigenous dialects of Bhutan.
Whether it is spoken or written, if we want to make our national language easy to use and rich at the same time, borrowing words from our local dialects is crucial.
However, some regular Dzongkha users say they are yet to use most words the DDC has coined or adopted.
If we have to use words such as matang or kotkin, then our readers who do not know Tsangla will not understand them. Similarly, Shachops will think the words are in their dialect and wonder what their Dzongkha terms are.
I haven't heard that this matang and kotkin is being incorporated and formalized by the DDC in their dictionary. But this afternoon, while I was discussing with my colleagues, then I came to know that it's actually in the dictionary, but Queensel, we haven't been using these words so far.
To promote the words, some observers say they must be included in the education curriculum for children to learn. The Education Ministry accepts the words the DDC adopted from local dialects. However, the ministry says it is inconvenient to use every new word in the school curriculum.
These days, one good thing we have is the new normal curriculum in which the lessons are not necessarily based on textbooks. Students can use online resources. So for most exercises, we give our students the DDC link and inform them that they can find Dzongkha words, spellings and meanings there. The DDC also posts new words as they complete reviewing them. While referring to the online links, they will gradually get familiar with the terms.
For now, the Commission will continue adding new words whenever required. But to what extent and how soon will they find a place among the regular Dzongkha users? Or will they rest within the pages of the dictionary just like many others? These remain to be seen. For Karmawangdi, Kinzanghadan, BBS News.
After waiting for about 7 years, it may not be far before a road connects Dewathang in Samtup Dzongkha to Nganglam in Pemagatsal. People have now pinned their hopes on a project report which will be ready by this year.
40-year-old Niduplamo surrendered her 1-acre land for road construction in 2012. It is almost 10 years now, but even today, there's no sign of any road here.
I'm not allowed to do anything on the land here since I got a land substitute. But it is far away and I can't grow anything there. I'm just hoping that the road is constructed soon.
Sometime in 2012, the Works and Human Settlement Ministry compiled a detailed project report to construct more than 68 kilometers Dewathang-Nganglam highway. The construction was planned in 2015, but due to security reasons, it was deferred.
With the highway, it will be very convenient for us, especially while doing business. I hope they construct the road soon.
It has been a long time since we were informed about the road, but it is never happening. Due to the pandemic, traveling via India has become impossible, so this highway is our only hope.
But it looks like the wait is finally over.
As per the information that I got from the project director and also as well as from the Department of Roads, this DPR will be completed in it will not take more than next 4 months or something. So, but then of course we would have done it much faster, but because of many reasons due to pandemic, we could not bring the experts from outside.
And the construction may not take much time.
Because of already existing farm roads, Geog Center roads, so for that there's some reduction in the overall new construction of roads. So overall we may have to construct about, I'm thinking is about 25 to somewhere 30 kilometers.
Once complete, the highway will become a lifeline for some 36 villages in Pemagatsal and Samtup Dzongkha. For Kilongwachu in Samtup Dzongkha, Cheku for BBS News.
Sabin Limbu, a student of Thindu Central School in Samtse, won the 13th Golden Youth Award. He received a scholarship from the Bhutan Youth Development Fund or YDF to study abroad. Her Majesty the Queen Mother Trimpem Onchu and Her Royal Highness Princess Chimianzum Onchu graced the awards ceremony in Thimphu.
Sabine Limbu, Tendu Central School, Samti.
16-year-old Sabine Limbu wins the prestigious Golden Youth title. The Golden Youth Award winner, Sabine Limbu, says he learned essential life skills from other participants during the virtual camp.
It was worth to be the nominees of the Golden Youth itself, and now to be entitled as the winner of the Golden Youth Award. I feel very honored and privileged, and I'm very, very happy and delightful for this award, and for bringing up my school's name and my Dzongkha names in the headline.
He now gets a scholarship to study in Thailand. So far, 9 students have received scholarships to study in the Netherlands, Singapore and Canada. The 13th Golden Youth Award, supposed to be held last year, was postponed due to the pandemic, and the 4-day camp was held virtually. Nearly 100 students from across the country took part in the camp. The Golden Youth Award is a platform to inspire and motivate youth to excel holistically. The event was first held in 2008. For Sonam Tenzin, Samton Dolkar, PBS News. That's all we have for this week. Thanks for watching.